It's yeah, so
All right, so we are 30 seconds out. You ready to get going? This is a webinar, so you will be
it's
you'll be,
yeah, so
people will be seeing and hearing you, but you won't be seeing anyone. All right, so we are 30 seconds out. You ready to get going? This is a webinar, so. All right, that's YouTube.
all right.
All right.
All right, so go ahead. So welcome one and all to this session. My name is Mark Shawson, the pattern trader. Let's turn this light down a little bit, I think. I'll get started in just a moment. Let everyone get situated here. Let's see, got 124 participants so far. Fantastic turnout. So thanks for that. I'll go ahead and share my screen. So welcome to this 3-day live course where I go through earnings, how to trade earnings on the heels of earnings announcements. We'll talk a little bit about that. MB, it's good to see you. Thank you. See, we're up to 143 participants. I'll give this a few minutes. We had over 1,000 people register for this, so I'll get let everybody sign in here, and then we'll talk about a few things. Got Alfred, Yasser, how you doing? I'm not seeing the YouTube. Maybe I should. Do you have the link to the YouTube, Dwight, so I could check that out simultaneously? Are you able to put that in the chat box? Hey, Henry, how are you? Good to see you. So we got Henny from Sydney, so welcome. Hey, Dwight, are you hearing me?
Hey, Mark. Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah, can you put the link to the YouTube thing in the chat? I don't know if it's a good idea to put in the chat box, but how do I get here? Let me see. Where do I find that? I just want to see the YouTube comments too, if any come through.
Once you go on your channel, your YouTube channel, it should be right at the top, but I'm gonna put it in the
I
link.
just don't know where my YouTube.
Okay. All right. Putting it in the chat right now.
Hey, Dick, how are you? Okay, cool. Yeah, it just allows me to kind of see the comments that come through there. So I'm just giving this a few. We're up to 175 participants, so fantastic. YouTube comments too. Just gotta mute that. So, all right, so welcome everybody. I'm just gonna let this settle in. Why don't we go ahead and get started? So welcome to my live 3-day earnings trade execution webinar series. My name again is Mark Shawson, the pattern trader. So for those of you who don't know me, I trade everything based on price and price action. So my whole philosophy and my methodology is predicated upon the philosophy that the market is a discounting mechanism, that the market is ahead of the news, that whatever the Federal Reserve says, whatever the June job reports say, whatever, it's already ahead of the market. I was saying to all of our members, I've been bearish on gold for months and months, and yesterday gold dropped out of sky, dropped $100. I wasn't surprised. The pattern showed you that it was prepared to drop, and then there was some catalyst that moved the market, and the market dumped $100. And so my philosophy is that I don't look at the news. I look at how the market responds to the news. Very often you'll see, a bull market and something bearish comes out. you'll have an initial sell-off, and then it'll go right back into the trend. Conversely, if you have a bearish trend, you might have some news that comes out that's very bullish, the market jumps up, and then it goes back into the downtrend. So to my mind, I don't look at, the market very quickly discounts events. The market's always a forward-looking mechanism. It's always not about what's happened today, it's what's going to happen. And so every quarter, you have these major companies and minor companies. Every registered public company has to do a quarterly earnings announcement. Register their papers with the SEC and share with the public that owns their company what they're doing. And to me, these are huge market moving events. Right on the earnings, I mean, I've been watching 3 earnings announcements today. Planet Fitness announced right now. They just dropped $3 in the announcement. I wanted to get short that. I didn't. Then there was some other company, SENS, that I bought a few shares in that I'll show you. And so what I do is I look at the patterns and then try and predict how the earnings are going to jump out of the pattern. So on this particular chart, this was in a company called SFIX, SFIX. And on this particular day, I noticed this huge key reversal where you can see that the market went higher and by the end of the day closed lower. But it was really the preceding pattern. It's the whole pattern here. You had a double top, which is a bear price pattern, which says that this market is going to reverse. So you had the combination double top and then key reversal. And right where this market closed, I shorted 5,500 shares when it was priced at $68.75. And, I shit you not, my wife was actually in the room. I try not to kind of share what I'm doing with my wife because I don't want to hear it when I lose. But, they announced earnings and 2 minutes later, the stock was down like $13. So, I mean, you get a very, very quick result. So the thing about the earnings is that if you're right or wrong very, very quickly. And so you can see that I shorted 2,500 shares at around 68.75, and I closed at 52.78 for a $39,925 profit. And then I shorted 3,000 at 68.75, and I covered a little higher, 57.50. So my philosophy is like, you got like a $9 drop, and I just rushed in to cover 3,000, and then it dropped some more. And you can see by the end of the day, I mean, it just got devastated. It actually went all the way down to $50. But I made a total of over $73,000, and that was in about 10 minutes. So I, try and wait till 2 minutes before the close, put on the short position at 3:58, Eastern time, and then literally like Planet Fitness now and Real and a whole bunch of companies, 3 minutes after the bell, they announce, and then the market moves one way or another. And so I made $73,000 literally in probably less than 5 minutes. And I know it sounds incredible, but this is what I do regularly. This is what I'm going to share with you. So here are, I like to show everything I do. A lot of people out there just misrepresent. These are excerpts from 2 trading accounts I have where you can see I shorted 3,000 shares at 68.75. In this particular account, I closed at 56.91, 57.92, made about $35,200 in less than 10 minutes in that account. And then I shorted at $68.30 in this account, covered at $52.78 in this account, and made about 32,000. So combined some 78 grand. I mean, just really stupid stuff in 4 minutes time. This was just a couple of days ago. Now I do a morning program. It's called the Boiler Room. If you're interested, I'm sure our marketing team. And on the Boiler Room, I told the people in that room, I said, I'm going to short Spotify on the close because it's been in a long-term downtrend. You had this double top price pattern. You can see that this thing was rolling around. And I just felt like there was very little support under this ledge here, that it had to come back and retest these prices. And that's exactly what it did. I shorted I shorted 5,000 shares at $237. Literally, this was actually something that announced the morning of. So I shorted it before the close. And then that morning they announced earnings, and the stock literally opened at $221, $16 lower. It actually went much lower than that. It went to about 213. I got out right as it opened. If somebody gives you a gift like that, you just take it. I made $80,000 literally by selling it at 3:58 p.m. On the close Eastern time, and then buying it back at 9:30 a.m. right on the opening. I was in this trade probably less than 3 minutes and made about 80 grand on that trade. And here is the broker of Spotify. I shorted 2,500 shares in this account. And I shorted 2,500 shares in that account. And there is the reconciliation right there. Bought it back at 221, made 32,650 in that account, and made 39,425 in that account. So you can see here are the two buys. I sold it at 237 and I bought it back at 221. And you'll notice that this was on 727 to 729. So I'm not sure. So I shorted at 729, covered on 730, and literally was in that trade less than 3 minutes. This was just a few days ago where I shorted VIRT. Again, you had this huge double top price pattern. You had what looked like a one-legged stool that had to fall over. I shorted this on the close at 25.80. I covered it pretty quickly at 23.97. It did go a lot lower, and I made about 10 grand on that trade in an overnight trade. And here is the reconciliation of that trade. Now, this was just a few days ago. I kind of took a ridiculously huge position in the stock. And, look, it's a total flyer. There's, rising lows. And I've just seen a lot of these biotech companies. Every morning I watch the market before the market opens, and I see, companies that were $3, then they start trading at $18. And I just have a feeling that you could get a pop in this stock like you had here, where it went from $3 literally to 18, and then it went from $5 to 16. I have a feeling we're in one of those modes where this thing looks like it's accumulating or putting on a bottom. Now, there was an earnings announcement 2 days ago in OCGN. And so I bought ahead of that. I bought, after that. I've been accumulating. And I have right now 73,000 shares in this stock with an open profit of 40 grand. And I'm still holding this stock. So here is 30,000 position in one account with a $16,000 open position, and 43,000 in another with a 20. So kind of a crazy, stupid position for that. So that's basically what I do is I look at, so you can see this is PLNT, Planet Fitness. Now, right after you can see it closed at $74.26. Now, right after the bell, they announced earnings, and you can see that this thing is down $3 to $4 right in the aftermarket. So if you shorted that, you could have made $4 in 4 minutes, just like that. Now, I bought this stock, SENS, and right now I'm down 22 cents. So I bought this at $3.25. Let's see if I have to log back in here. So I bought this just before earnings. Again, this was a total flyer. Blow this up. So I bought 25,000 shares at $3.25. It shows that I'm losing 1,600, but I'm actually losing more because it doesn't reflect the aftermarket. So you can win, you can lose, but you get a result right away. And so I'm actually long that stock. I'm losing 25 cents, and I'll see how I feel about that, in the morning. So here is this OCGN. I started buying it at about $7.60. It's trading about $8.17. So every day I kind of cull through the earnings, and I'll put these links in the chat box. So here is all of the earnings that were published tonight. So you come back to the first page, and you can see that these are all of the companies that AMC was a big one that announced tonight. And so I basically go and look for symbols and price patterns that, indicate one way or another. And, I don't really take a bet unless I have a pretty good feeling about it. Sometimes I, take a flyer here and there, which I obviously did. So that's one earnings thing. And the other is the Yahoo calendar. So they both are the same, although some might have, some symbols that are different, but that's where you can cull a list of all of the earnings that are going to come out that day. So for tomorrow, I guess everybody's interested in what's going to happen tomorrow. So tomorrow, Coinbase is going to announce after the market. So what I do is I simply just go and I start looking at the chart action of, anything that I'm looking at. So if I want to look at coin, I try and see if, it's in a pattern that suggests that it's going to come out of a trajectory one way or another. So Coinbase looks like it's put on this little bottom at 208. It's broken above here, and now it's got some momentum. It's got some resistance here, and frankly, it's like kind of go with the momentum. If you want to take a flyer on this, this has been in a downtrend, but it looks like it may be turning around here. And with Bitcoin, going higher, the momentum is higher. So again, this is what I do. I just keep on going through the list. And just try and find, one after the other, or something that makes sense. Now, obviously, there is, huge, gamble on this. You have to know, so I didn't realize that Upstart is going to announce tomorrow. I should be aware of that because I own a pretty big position. I wasn't. I'm glad I saw this. So I own a pretty big position of Upstart in 2 accounts. So I've got 5,500 shares of Upstart worth $750,000. Obviously, I'm just flat making 565, and I've got 5,500 shares in another account, and they will announce tomorrow. And Upstart looks like it's so I didn't realize it was going to go tomorrow. So that makes my position even more impactful. So I have been recommending to our members to buy Upstart irrespective of this earnings. But now with the earnings, it's going to shoot this stock one way or another. And, what I'm looking at and what I have been looking at in Upstart is, first off, you open a chart like this, and this is a new issue, just became public just recently, so it doesn't have a lot of history. So when you open something like this up, it basically looks pretty sideways. But then I say, okay, on balance, what is this? So this chart is in a bit of a stealth bull market. It was $40. It's now $140. So it's been in an uptrend. And then I try and dig within the pattern. So when you look at something like this, it looks pretty arbitrary. But what I try and do is create some kind of structure, something that I can observe. So, right here is what I call an Adam and Eve double bottom. You have one single spike there, and then you have 2 single spikes at this low. But whatever you want to call it, this looks like a double bottom. Double bottom is just like what it sounds like. Makes a low, bounces off the low, retests the low. And now when we break above here, it basically confirms that pattern. So this line that is drawn through the pattern is called a neckline. And when we break through here, we basically confirm that this bottom has been put in. And today was really the first day that we closed. You can see that we had a whole bunch of attempts above this neckline, but today was really the first time we closed above it. And so I'm along 11,000 shares. And with that size position, I'm not sure I'll keep the whole thing, but so now I look at the pattern, and then I look at a collection of what I call price action. So right here is what we have, what we call a key reversal, where you can see earlier in the day That thing made a new low. By the time it closed closer to the high of the day. So it reversed. It went lower and then reversed in the direction of the pattern and the trend. And so I look at a combination of the pattern and the price action. And today we have what's called an inside bar. It kind of snuck out yesterday's high, but by and large, today's price action, the range from high to low sits within the price action of yesterday. And when I look at these inside bars is that, to me, this is a coiling. This represents a building or a storing of energy. And, you know, when the market comes out one way or another, it bursts out with a lot of energy. So I always kind of compare these, you know, inside bars to a beach ball. You know, picture, if you will, you kind of push a beach ball lower and lower, and you put all that pressure, and then you let your hand off. What happens? It just uncorks. The pressure just releases. So you can see there was like an inside bar here. And you had two prior bars telling you, what is it, three. So these three reversal bars told you that there was a lot of resistance there. And now you had an inside bar, and you can see that the energy just uncorked out of there. So those inside bars, they look, you know, benign or innocent, but they are precursors to an unleashing of energy. And, you know, now, you know, we've taken out this resistance level on Upstart, and now we're looking at this secondary thing, which we're just trading on the high of. And tomorrow, if we take this, you know, this 140 area out, I'm surmising that there's a lot of open space for this to run into. So anybody who wants to kind of be in ahead of the earnings release on Upstart tomorrow, this is probably a really good one. So you can see that Upstart is going to release after the close tomorrow. So all of these, so the sunshine is where the company will announce in the morning of that day, and these are in the afternoon after the market closes. So basically what I do, and you know, this is peak earnings season, so there are hundreds and hundreds of these, you know, symbols to go through. And I'm just looking for something that just jumps out at me that says this needs to be bought, this needs to be sold, because it's a very risky endeavor. You're going to make or lose, you know, a tremendous amount very quickly. So this is going to announce coherent at some point tomorrow. This looks like somewhat of a dead cat bounce where, you know, this thing fell off, it bounced, and probably will go back in the trend. So I try and look at these things on a daily, weekly, you know, it's a double bottom. It's a little complicated. So I'm not, you know, I'm just trying to find something that looks pretty effortless, that, you know, I can see an area where I'm not going to lose too much if I take a bet like this. And that's the whole key is, you know, trying not to lose so much. Now, sometimes I take an options bet and I've made a fortune, and then, or you lose everything the next day. So, you know, caveat emptor, and I should have put this trade to show you that I don't win all the time. This was CVS. It had this kind of double bottom. It had this reversal. It closed right on the high. And based on the look of that, I bought the $85 calls. And the next day, I basically lost all of my money. I lost $17,000 in a heartbeat. And so, you know, you just got to realize that this, you know, this game is, you're going to get a result one way or another. And, you know, I've made a ton more than I've lost. Otherwise, I wouldn't, you know, keep doing this. This is Chesapeake. And, you know, also you want to look at companies that are going to likely move one way or another. So I look at mostly NASDAQ companies, mostly technology companies, because, you know, financials or what have you, especially if you're buying options, they're not going to move that much, you know, like Coca-Cola, Fubo TV. Let's kind of see what Fubo is looking like. And so I will just go through, you know, hundreds of these symbols, trying to find something that, you know, is going to jump from one level to the other. And it will do that, you know, immediately. Now, when I look at Fubo, I look at kind of this double bottom, double top over here. This has been kind of catching a bit of thing, but, you know, this is really the governing pattern. So sometimes you get these head fakes where the market makes it look like it's going one way and then it just drops out of the sky. That's why you have to kind of understand the governing pattern. So you can see that Etsy closed really well the night before the earnings release. So it kind of gives you this head fake, and then it dropped $23. But if you kind of saw the earlier pattern, you can see that there was a lot of trouble here, a lot of, big double top in this area, and, a wall of resistance. So sometimes the market will give you what I call a head fake, where it will just, so what I try and do is look at the entirety of the picture, try and see what's going on. Sometimes it's not easy. And I'm not sure what happened with these gaps and why there's such a large gap here, but it just looks like this area is a giant top area. And then you had this triple top where the market snuck back into, gave you a head fake, and then dropped lower. So this is what I advise on everything. I like to know the cards I'm holding. So whether you're trading dollar, yen, or gold, I don't just look at it as zone in on a 15-minute chart. I want to see as much history as I can, so that, sometimes, the market gives you these head fakes. So I like to believe that I can capitalize on the opportunities, but also, avoid the pitfalls and traps. And in order to do that, you have to understand the history. You have to understand where this thing is coming from, where it's likely to go, because the market throws you all kinds of, counter looks and what have you. So let me just keep motoring through these. And I, try not to stray too far off the first 2 pages, because then you get very thinly traded stocks. So you want to trade things that have volume that you can get in and out of. That's not going to be a problem. That doesn't have wide spreads. This is skin. Maybe I should stop and just see if anybody has any. So it's kind of a wild, thing to do. I mean, people go to Vegas and, put their chips on the table, and you can make. This is, I got to tell you, way more fun. And, again, what you do is try and put the odds in your favor by understanding, what you're doing. Now, anything can happen after earnings. This was BYND, something that I was really advocating getting short. And I was told I had a crazy position going into earnings. And it just bounced so many times before. I just got scared. The way these markets have been bouncing all over the place. This was BYND. I was holding a short position. I got out the day before earnings. And then that night, the market was down $8. I closed it around 122, and it was trading around 115 in the aftermarket session. And I was really upset. I had a huge position. I elected just to stay out of it. But you can see what happened. This thing opened lower, and then by the end of the day, it closed higher. So these earnings events can be, just enormous game changers. And I try, and if I get a present, if I get a gift right on the opening, if it opens $5 lower, 7 or 9, I don't really stick around to, see what's going to happen. I think there was, I'm trying to. So I was really upset. I wanted a short. This was TDOC. It was the same day that I shorted Spotify. And I said, well, I don't want to do both. I don't want to have risk everywhere. So I shorted Spotify, which was at $237. This was only at $150. So on a relative basis, this actually dropped more. You can see that this dropped $15 after the earnings. But in the same day, it dropped. You can see that little hash mark to the left. That's where it opened, $15 lower. And by the end of the day, it was actually up on the day. So you can see how crazy these earnings things are. So if I get a $15 gift on the opening, I'm gone. And so it was, the same day that I did this, that I did Spotify, and Spotify dropped $16 in the same day. And so it's it's not a game for the faint of heart. This is not something that you want to risk your pension money on. But I've made $250,000 in 10 minutes. I was short this stock MELI. This was way back when it was trading around $360. And I shorted the shares, and then it opened at 290. So I made just a ton of money on the stock, and then I also had the put options, and I made about $250,000 in between the opening and the close and the opening the next day. So it's really crazy, but it happens, and it's really real. You can see Planet Fitness closed at 74. It's now trading at 71. So you could bank $3, and you can take this in the aftermarket. So very often, if I get a play in the aftermarket, I will take it. For instance, last week Uber, I didn't play the earnings announcement. I played after the earnings. So what happened was Uber had been selling off like crazy prior to the earnings announcement. And I just concluded that it was overdone. It basically dropped from $52 all the way to $42. And you can see it just came straight down. So in the aftermarket, it opened at, you can't even see the price that I bought it at. I bought this at $38.25 in the aftermarket after an earnings. It dropped like $5. And I just said, you know what, this is overdone. So I actually bought the shares in the aftermarket at $38.25 and then dumped it at $43.25, and I made $5, just based on what I thought was going to happen in the earnings kind of arena. So this is bottom line tech ePay. I lost a lot of money on this earnings announcement about a year ago. I bought this thing and it dropped. So AVPT. So this is yeah, that's a new issue. Looks like it's going to go lower. So you can see there's literally 5 pages of earnings that are going to come out. So like if I look at an investment group, I want to find something that's likely to move. So I typically only look at NASDAQ oriented stocks, technology or what have you, something that's going to give you a result one way or another. So that looks like it's going down. I don't know if it's going to clear through. So okay, something like this, where you can see that this has nowhere to go but lower. So ONTF is going to announce tomorrow, and you can see that we're sitting right on the lows. Now you might have some interim support. You may get a dead cat bounce, but I can't see how. So yeah, the only thing is you have some support right around here at 31. So you got to say to yourself, and this is where I do a lot of visualization. I try and kind of project how I see prices going. I play both sides, devil's advocate. I try and draw, but this thing is going straight down. This thing is going straight down. So even if this thing went higher, I would just sell into it more. So this is a really good. So Rob says, can you use a retail trade after hours at Interact? You should be. This is my broker, and I'm seeing after hours. Yeah, I can buy and sell stuff in the aftermarket. So you should be able to, Rob. I don't see any problem why you shouldn't. It's just a different designation. So you'll see that. Let's say if I just set up a hypothetical trade. This is a company, and then so this is what it looks like. I'll show you afterwards. Let me just do this example on this thing, and then I'll show you. So this is ONTF. I'm speculating it's probably not a lot of volume. So first off, this is a market that's in a downtrend. Then, I kind of look for the interim pattern, and you kind of have this double top here. You've kind of cratered through this neckline. So you've confirmed this double top. You have this little inside bar here. And so it's kind of set up. You know, I just feel like, you know, when I like to sell something, I like to see the energy go that way. So then it goes that way. So it builds up a little energy. I don't like to kind of, you can see how the energy's kind of been dissipated. So it's like a rubber band. I kind of like, you know, look for something. If I'm looking to sell, I want to see a snapback, sell into that. So it builds that energy and then it is ready to go. This just feels like it needs a little bit more energy. So, and then the only other thing I say to myself is that now you've got to clear through these guys. Can I see, you know, so then I try and draw in my mind, you know, the bar tomorrow and see, you know, can I see this thing going through here? Can I see it doing something like that? And this is something that looks like you want to be short anyways. I mean, I'd love to see this thing pop higher after earnings and then sell into it. But I can't see, even if this thing doesn't work right away, if you are patient with it. So ONTF, then sometimes I'll go and see if there's some options, you know, to take a real speculative play on it. I suspect that this has got very low volume. No, not too bad. 538,000 shares today. So then I will check out the options and see if there's something on the menu that I like. And this is very, very subjective. May not even have an option chain. No option chain, so it doesn't even have options. So this is something that I might take a flyer on tomorrow. ONTF on the short side. Because I can't see how this thing, you know, will ever go up. This thing is not. People say, well, isn't this a double bottom here? No, this is a support level. It may hang out here for a while, but it's eventually going through. So then I'll look at, you know, different time frames, and you can see this is a recently formed entity, maybe a SPAC, and yeah. So this is the problem, is that, you know, it's come pretty far down, and so you might get a beyond meat where you know goes lower and then goes higher, but I don't know. This thing is sometimes when something looks too good, I try and find all the problems with it. So you are in the support area. And then you have to say, well, do you see prices going through this support? Does it feel like you need prices to go back and retest some of this area up here? So again, what I try and do is find something that is perfect, like Spotify, and make 80 grand in it overnight. So, you know, you don't find those every day. And if I don't find it, then, you know, I'm just not going to trade it. And so I'm just looking at, so everybody's asking about Tesla and other things. I'm just looking at earnings plays on these webinars. You know, I'm looking for a play tomorrow after the opening. Kronos. I don't know why I can't minimize some of these charts. There it goes. So does everybody kind of, so this looks pretty good. Immediately we'll know something. It'll resonate like immediately. And you can see that I'm trying to take bets on companies I don't know anything about. I have no clue what their earnings are going to be. I just look at the pattern. So this looks really interesting. And this is how I find names, whether I play the earnings play or not, to bet, you know, now or in the future. So people always say, well, where do I get my ideas and what have you? I get my ideas all over the place, but this is just one of them. So let me just put a little bit more history here. The more history, the better. It's just like anything else in life, the more history. So this is just a perfect setup. This is just picture perfect. Where, you know, I look for a combination of pattern and price action. So this is KRON. The only problem is it's a $20 stock. And if you short something, it can only go to zero. But that's fine. If something goes down $4, it's a 20% move. So here is what I'm looking at. This is what I call the governing price pattern. When I say governing, is that this pattern governs or dictates everything that happens, after. So you can see the market, doesn't go straight down. It's not like a market can't have an up move, but basically this is telling you that this market is in a downtrend and will likely to keep being a downtrend. So once I kind of understand, and this is kind of the head and shoulders, looks like a man or woman's head and shoulders. So you have a double, bear price pattern. Then you broke through the neckline here of both the head and shoulders and the double top. And this is typically what will happen. Prices will break the neckline and then they'll retest it. And you can see that you had a double top here on this retest, and now, it's set in motion this. So I wish I'd seen this earlier. I would have shorted earlier, but then, I look at all of this price action here. You have a key reversal, key reversal, key reversal. So those guys actually point in the direction that the market wants to go. So you have the pattern, double top, head and shoulders. You have the direction, a downtrend. You have all of these key reversals. You have an inside day bar. So basically, I would just put a sell stop underneath here or get short on the close tomorrow. I think there's very little risk. And I hate to say that because you guys are going to come looking for me when this thing opens up $4. But this is something that I'm going to very likely bet on tomorrow using the same analysis as I just showed you. So this is something to put on KRON if you want to go short that. Your risk is probably whatever, $21.50. Probably got $1 risk to make $5. And tomorrow you're gonna, know one way or another about that. Thing about Corona, we don't know when it's gonna announce. So you probably should get that on early because it could announce at any time during the day. So it doesn't say it's going to open in the morning or the after. They don't really say. So undetermined. So I'm going to get that on in the morning. So I'm just going to keep going through some of these names, OPFI. And so this is, the exercise I do to kind of research, stocks that I like in the future. And as I said, the more you go down the page, the more kind of, shift technologies, you're likely to get these low liquidity things. I like to just find something with a lot of liquidity that's going to move big. What was I just looking at here? I'm trying to SFT balance two screens here. $8. It looks like. That looks like it's going to go straight down tomorrow. PRAX. Like I said, I usually like to see some kind of buildup of energy. If something's going straight down, I don't like to really short into that. Sometimes it can be a trap. So there's just certain conditions, and it's like kind of more of a visceral thing. I know it when I see it type of thing. TLS. So once I've kind of gone through the first 2 pages, I just want to see if there's any other names that SSTI. And just remember, this is a very fertile time. And so it's not always like this. So, try and take it, where you just have just a huge amount. I think last week, 20% of the S&P announced their earnings. So it's a very fertile time for earnings announcement. You get hundreds and hundreds of companies that are announcing in the next, and then it'll go quiet. So you kind of have to, but there's always something. I mean, there's always some. So now after I've gone through the first 3 pages of that night, what I'll do is I'll go and look at the following morning. So on after, the session starts tomorrow, this is what I'll look for Wednesday morning. The companies that are going to be announcing before the openings the next day, Wednesday morning. So WIX. Wow, that doesn't not look so good. So what I try and do is try and look at it on multiple time frames. So this is a big company, and see, to me, it looks like the next path of this looks lower. So again, these earnings plays are very crazy all over the place. You have to just make the best guess. And sometimes, and it shouldn't be the best guess. You shouldn't have to reach. Like KRON seems like a slam dunk to me. So Wix looks like this funky double top here. Looks like it's making a double top right here. It's kind of cracked behind this neckline. And the only problem I have with shorting this thing is that it's come off pretty big already. So then you have to say, is the energy going to keep going lower? So tomorrow I'd like to see some kind of run up, some kind of fake out. And I may short into that. It just feels like this thing needs to come and consolidate this low. So I'm going to put that up on my list, and I'll see how I feel about it tomorrow. You don't have to do anything until the close because it's only opening the following morning, Wednesday morning. And maybe tomorrow I should just look at what's going to happen for. Now it'll be, while I'm doing this for Wednesday, is by tomorrow 4:30 the market will have closed. And if you want to put on any positions for that Wednesday morning, you won't be able to. So I'm discussing them now. So if you want to get on board those, by the time we speak tomorrow, we won't be able to take advantage of them. So Wendy's, food chain, let's see what that looks like. Looks like it wants to go lower. Probably just not enough. I want something that's going to move. Let's look at a couple more. Looks like it wants to go higher. Goose, Canadian company. That looks like it wants to go higher. So let me just see if there's anything else that stands out. VRX. And sometimes we'll find something, and you guys, I'm telling you, you can just make a fortune very quickly. So now this looks like it's going to get punished. VERX. Nowhere to go with lower. Low volume, though. That's the problem. You want something that's going to trade at least 500,000 shares a day. All right, so kind of forget EVGO. That does look tantalizing, though. I'm just going to make a note of that. VERX. I mean, there's certain things, there's just nowhere for that to go. There's no support. You've got these two key reversals. The whole thing is lower. I mean, this thing is, going into the tank at some point. It's just done. I may just throw a small amount there just to be a participant, because that thing's going lower. EVGO. That's a new, so let me just look at one more. SHCR. Also a new, these could be, SPACs or what have you. It's a new popular way to go public. A lot of them have just been a bust. And I made a fortune just shorting them. don't know why it's not coming up. Okay. See if anything else pops out. INVZ. So you want to look for technology companies, something that's going to move. That's going to move lower. At some point, it's counterproductive to start shorting an $8 stock. I mean, you can only make $8 and you can lose an infinite amount, but that thing is going to go lower. INVZ. Just want to see what the volume of that is. Million shares. Might take a crack at that too. So that's about it. So I don't know, what did we came up with ONTF. ONTF, I think comes out tomorrow. That's going lower. It's just a question of, does it just do some work in here? But I think, again, very little risk of being short here. If you're short the stock, if you buy the option, it's a whole other thing. But, you know, even if it doesn't go anywhere, you're not going to get hurt. Eventually, this thing goes lower. I don't know what else did we, KRN, it's probably my favorite. Fortunately, it's only a $20 stock, but this thing looks lower, KRON. And then there was, you know, just these others that were just very, I think this was a low VRX. But can you see how just the shape, the look of something, whether it's this one or anything else, what I try and do is just say, okay, what does this chart tell me? And what I look for is a combination of a pattern that tells me, you know, so here is this head and shoulders. Looks like a man or woman's head and shoulders. And this is the neckline. So once it crashed through here, this indicated that it was a green light. That this, you know, bear pattern had been confirmed, and now this was going to be in a protracted downtrend. And you can see now we're in a protracted downtrend. And so now you just try and find ways to join, you know, where this market's going. And you look for certain price action, this double top, this key reversal. Now there is, you know, a lot of junk in here. There's a lot of support. And this is $18, so it might take a while, but eventually this looks like it'll be a $10 stock, you know, which means you can basically double your money if you sit in this thing for a while, but it could take 6 months or a year. But so there's the first level, here's the second level, and then there's nothing underneath there. So, you know, earnings are usually a catalyst to push something in the direction that it's already going. And that's really the principle. So whether it's, you know, this collection of trades or others, really what I'm trying to, so Kyle, I think Riot does also announce tomorrow, right? I think I saw that. So Coinbase announces tomorrow, Riot announces tomorrow. And this is a funky chart. You know, sometimes you have to kind of figure out, okay, what is what I call the governing price pattern? So you can see here, we had what looks like a, you know, triple top. You had a symmetrical triangle breakdown here. So you can see what I try and do is draw, you know, put a structure around prices. So, you know, sometimes when, you know, prices get crazy in here, if you're just looking at that, on a random basis, it looks, difficult. But then you can see we broke here, we retested, and when you fail on the retest, you usually have a nice push, and that's exactly what you had. Now the question is, is this thing kind of putting on a funky double bottom here? It's got to close above this neckline. You have, this guy in the way here. It's complicated. Path of least resistance for right now seems higher. So what I try and do is say, okay, out of earnings, which is, the likely least, so if, can I see earnings going this way, in which case price would have to clear through all of this junk here, or is it just easier for price to go where there is no obstruction? So path of least resistance in this thing right now is higher. So Kyle, I think that does announce Riot. Oh, I think announces this week or today or tomorrow or whenever. Tomorrow after the close. Yeah, I didn't know what it didn't say. Let's go and check this out. My earnings thing went, I must have closed it out. So data doesn't say. It doesn't say when. So Tuesday, Riot. I know I saw it. Let me just see if I can quickly. You can see there's 5 pages of this. It's kind of easy to miss a symbol here and there. I know I was scrolling through today and I know I saw it somewhere. Yeah, this is a proxy on the crypto space. So for those of you trading that, it could be an interesting way this thing. So I just overlooked it. I can't find it. My eyes are spinning. Anyhow. August 9th estimation. Doesn't say August 9th, so it's tomorrow, but doesn't say if it's in the doesn't say when, but all right, that be as it may. Let me just, August 8th for Riot. So Veronica says, why is the volume important? So I don't really look at volume to make a decision whether I'm going to buy or sell if the volume's up. I just want to make sure there's some liquidity there. So when you get, a very low, 77,000 shares a day, if you're trying to buy, 10,000 or whatever, you don't want to move the market, or you don't want to have the market have a wide bid offer or what. You just want to have liquidity there. I don't care how many shares it did. So, I traded this SENS because it had 15 million shares and I bought 25,000 shares, and I know I can just get in and out of it for, it won't even blink to absorb that. So let's see what Upstart's doing. Upstart's a little higher in the aftermarket right now, and that's going to announce tomorrow. So that's a big horse that I've got a big bet on. And it's about $1 higher in the aftermarket right now. So you don't have to estimate liquidity in options, Robert. It basically shows you. So if you go like the QQQs, these are very liquid. You can go to option chain and you can see there's just, so what is this at 369? So you can see the put or call, the 367 puts got 15,000. The calls have got 23,000. So this is where you see the volume right here on an option series. So it will tell you. And again, you don't want to get into an option that has no liquidity. So I don't look at the volume to make a decision whether I should buy or sell. I just look at it purely from, can I get in and out without, a hassle. Which stuff is, can you go over Coinbase again? Sure. So Coinbase, usually when you see these kind of deep dives off an IPO, they never really recover. But this is kind of looking interesting. So Coinbase opened at an all-time high of $430 and then got cut in half. But now it looks like it's making a U-turn. Obviously, you've had a bottoming in the cryptos. And I've been a pretty big skeptic of cryptos, but I don't know. I get the feeling this time could be real. I saw when Ether was 1,900, I wanted to buy it, and now it's 3,000. I like Ether better than. So this is still hard. I mean, it's a new issue, so you don't have any history. It just looks like obviously you have this double or even triple bottom here. You broke above the neckline. So you can, it's very hard to make. So this is the guy that you have to clear right there, that reversal, which is about $310. So that's about $30 away. So you still have, $30 that you could, make, tomorrow's opening. So, this is clearly a gamble. And again, what I say to myself, is it easier to see prices going lower or higher? The path of least, because if it goes, if I say I'm going to get short here, yeah, you might get a little pop, $20, but to go down through all of this stuff is, not going to be easy. It's easier to see it going that way. So what you may see is kind of what you typically see with price action when you jump out of a pattern like this is you see some kind of retreat and a retest of that neckline, and then it goes. So it's pretty dicey in here. So this is something that I probably wouldn't be inclined to play. It could go either way, big. And it could go, $8 lower and then $10 higher. So it could do anything. I would be inclined to wait till after earnings. And if it went lower, I would buy into that. That's how I'd handle that. So, Rob, I don't have an interactive account, so I can only show you how I would do it here. Let me just put a mock order in there and just show you what it looks like. So on my platforms, you have to go and you actually have to designate. So this will give you 2 designations. And there's a drop-down menu. Now I either click day or extended hours. Extended hours can be PM. And then in the morning, I can trade the AM extended hours. So I actually trade before the market even opens. This is what I did with Uber the other day. I basically bought Uber in the extended hours at $38. It was down $5 in the after hour session, and by the time it opened, it went to 43. You didn't even see 38 in the regular session. So I don't know. Every broker gives you an extended hours. You just have to click that. That drop down. But every broker has, an extended hours. And you can see the market is actively trading here. So, well, actually, it's already 5:30. It should still be trading. That should still be trading. Yeah, you can see that prices are going off here, and it is trading. Probably less active now. I think at 5:30, it kind of, you can't trade anymore. Here's oxygen. So these markets are trading, and you know, you can bet on them. So if you see there's some disparity, you just go in and arbitrage it. I do that all the time. Thanks, Munira. I appreciate it. Munira says, great session. Thank you. So that's basically, Bill also says, what is the best trade to place right now? So Upstart is going to announce tomorrow. So to me, I've got 11,000 shares bet that this thing is going to go higher. So it better go higher. So this is, let me just widen this, give you, so this is, you know, I think this is the best bet for tomorrow. Upstart on the upside and Crone on the downside. So I like this whole thing looks like a rounding bottom. And with the word bottom in it, it just feels like there's just a lot of blue sky up here. I just feel like we're going to go and retest these prices again at some point. I have for a long time, but this has just been backing and filling. And, you know, I've been taking so many attempts at buying this thing, and finally I'm long. And if we crack tomorrow's high, and, you know, we could still get a pullback here. You know, usually on the pre-earnings thing, you get all kinds of nonsense and volatility. There's a gap here that needs to be filled, probably 145. So I would look at going long Upstart. You could put a buy stop above today's high around 140.25, I think. You know, and then you really can't control your risk. Once the earnings comes out, this could be up then $10 or down $10. Not like you can just put a stop in there. And so you really have to go in with your eyes open. But again, this is what I say, you know, I do all kinds of scenario analysis with my charts. I kind of draw a picture and I say it's a double bottom, and then, you know, just say, well, our price is going according to that picture. And, you know, right now they are. And then I say, okay, now you're going to get an earnings event. Now, is it easier to see prices go this way through all of this stuff, or that way where there's just no obstruction? It's just clear blue sky. So, I mean, you could get one of these things where it goes down and then does that. All kinds of crap happens after these earnings. So please be aware. This is an education program. I'm not making any advice. You know, take care of your own risk and price in that, you know, anything can happen. And so I like Upstart on the upside, and I like KRON on the downside. So those would be, you know, those are two of the bets that I'm going to make, and we'll see how. Let's see. Steven says for small balances, one time I need a margin account. Yeah. So, yeah, sometimes you may need a bigger account to do these things. So I'm just putting out information. You know, I don't know your specific situation. This series is just showing you what I do, you know, in some of my, you know, aftermarket activities, where I make bets. And, you know, right now I made a bet on this at 3.25, and I'm losing 25 cents on 25,000 shares. So what is that, $6 grand? So I'm losing $6 grand on that bet right there. And then I stepped in and bought some of this real in the aftermarket. It dropped like $1 on the opening, and I just feel like this could be in an area like Uber where maybe there's some support. So sometimes you can see these prices move now, and then so I just feel like there's maybe a little bit of support in here. It's a down. Yeah, it's a down. It's not the best looking chart. I just took a shot where I feel like I could buy it here and not So here's what I did in the extended market. And I might just get rid of it right away. I mean, I'll just see how I feel. So I just bought real at 1545, about 5,000 shares in the today's session. So, you know, sometimes I'll wait till after the earnings to see if there is some, you know, some dislocation. There's always some, you know, some dislocation where Uber was down $5 and I thought it just had cratered too much. And it was, you know, I just felt like, okay, if I'm buying at $5 lower, how much lower is it really going to go? You know, so in my mind, I'm risking $2-3, and I made 5 the next day. It didn't even actually open at the price that I paid for it in the aftermarket session. Let's see. Diane says I have a $3,000 account. How much should I risk on my first option? So you should always just, first off, options are the most risky things you can do, Diane. You have to count on risking 100%. So if you put $100 in there, you have to just say, hey, that's gone. And the way I approach options is that I'm looking to make 5 times what I bet on an options play in order to make it work. And I remember like a month ago, 2 months ago, I bought these call options in Beyond Meat when Beyond Meat was at 120. I paid 155 for the 125 calls. In 3 days, the stock went to 150. So the 150 calls that I paid, the 125 calls that I paid 155 went to $23. So that was one of my biggest plays in a long, long time, where I made 15 times what I put down. But you kind of need that. You need to make 3 to 5 times your wins, because you're going to lose 50 to 100% of your option bet a lot of the times. So, you know, unless you can see a bet that's going to pay off at least 3 times, and so, you know, there's certain stocks like I like playing with Tesla and Zoom and what have you, but the options are just too expensive, because the beta on those stocks, the volatility is such that it makes the premium so great that it just makes it too expensive to buy the you know, naked puts and calls. If you do some strategies where you buy a call and then you sell an out of the money call and you bring in some premium, you can do some more sophisticated. But generally on a, you know, a $3,000 account, 2% of that is $60. So I would say don't bet more than $50 on an option. So Mustafa, again, with leverage is a double-edged sword. Certainly with these earnings plays, you got to, you know, realize that it goes very, very quickly. Certainly if you're doing the options. You know, I got killed on CBS last week. I bought these options, and the next day, 90% of the value just disappeared. So caveat emptor. So I'm going to leave it there. We'll look at some more earnings plays tomorrow. And this is basically the thesis. So what I try and do is break apart what a company is already looking like it's going to do. So Upstart looks like it's on the rise. I've been buying Upstart for the last 2 weeks, independent of the fact that it's going to announce earnings. I frankly didn't even realize it was going to announce earnings, and started buying it in the last 3 days. And so to my mind, earnings, you know, are just another event that just sends a company to, you know, where it looked like it was going to go. Thanks, Mustafa. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you back tomorrow. Thanks, Henry.
All right, Mark. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, guys.
I'll see you in the boiler room tomorrow.
Yeah. Thanks, Dwight.
Cool.
Cheers.